All right. Well, welcome to Yoga Biz Camp with myself, Michael J. And today I've got a super special guest who happens to also be a very good friend of mine, Christine Irving, aka Coach KI, and she can be found at coachki.com. Welcome, Christine. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. How
Good.
are you?
I'm good. Well, Christine is a certified life coach, and she's been coaching for over 18 years, and she's also a certified hypnotherapist and RTT practitioner. And I just want, before we get into that, I do want to just sort of introduce you how you're in my world and how relevant you are to the my audience, the yoga business audience as well. So, Christine came to my world as I owned a yoga studio for over 13 years, and Christine came as a very reluctant yogi, and she came for a summer and then got hooked, and she was one of those people that I knew right away, I want to be friends with her, which I actually didn't do with my yoga students. I kind of kept that separation, but with Christine, she owned a local business and we just became fast and furious friends. And what I've always loved about Christine is that you are so curious about people. You have this deep, deep curiosity, and also she's a huge asset to my life and to my business life as well, because she made me feel with my yoga studio that I had something of worth. The first thing she did, she was a business coach at the time, and I had hired her, and she came on and helped me put systems into place. And that's what I do now with my clients, and that is help them put the systems into the place so that the studio is not running them and they're running the studio. And then the other thing was the worth part, which was making me feel, which I think a lot of yoga studio owners kind of feel like it's, the lease is a noose over their head. But she made me feel that the community I'd created, the branding that I created, was something of value. And so when I came to sell my studio, that was a huge thing, because I had systems in place that I passed on to the new owner, which again is something I help people with now. And then that feeling of something of worth. So I have a huge debt of gratitude to you. But I'm super curious about where you are now. So you've done business coaching, you're now a life coach, and now there's RTT. And so you've come into some of my programs. I've done a reboot program, which was about creating healthy habits. And you've come in and you've used that with the participants of that. So I'd really love you to tell me about sort of a little bit about your journey and what RTT is and what you're seeing with that.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you for all those yummy words. I was reluctant, kicking and screaming, but you created a safe space there. So as Michael mentioned, I've had a business for 20 years, had a clothing business, and that's how we first connected, right? So that was really my background. So I was working a lot with business people primarily. I became a life coach in 2004. So I've been doing this for quite a long time. And it just seemed natural to work with business clients like I did with you. And I loved that. But man, life kept butting up against that business stuff. I'd work with clients on spreadsheets and getting, really to understand cash flow and all those types of things and put systems in place. But then they would inevitably have some kind of a block or a crash or something. And it always went back to, it always went back to mindset, to beliefs, to stories they were telling about themselves. So I got more and more curious about the life side of coaching. And my practice just started to really lean more that way than with the business coaching. So then in the last year, I decided to incorporate something else into my tool belt, which is RTT. And RTT is a modality that uses hypnosis. And what it does is it really gets into the subconscious mind. So with coaching, I'm dealing with the conscious mind, but often that blocks us. We're not sure. We don't know why we think the things we do or do the things we do or feel the way we feel, because we have this block, and it's just our conscious mind that's that's trying to share with your coach what's going on, but you just keep feeling stuck and like, I don't know. So by utilizing RTT, where I'm able to access the subconscious through hypnosis and really take a client back to what the root cause is of whatever is keeping them stuck. So whatever that limiting belief is, or whatever it is, where they can't move forward, or maybe they have a money block. And in business, there's a lot of things I see over and over, a money block being one of them for sure. Another one is self-worth. And you mentioned it earlier, right?
Yeah.
And how that can sometimes get beat up, especially when we are challenged like we are right now. We often can make it mean something about ourselves. And so I'm talking with clients a lot about that, and it really improves. It's helping improve their businesses as well, as they improve the way they look at themselves. So they get at the root cause, and then with hypnosis, we create new neural pathways in the brain. So we change that stinking thinking, as they say. We change that thinking, and we create new neural pathways where maybe they were having money blocks, where all of a sudden now the new neural pathway is saying, I live in abundance, and they have a different kind of a mindset, maybe around money, for example. And then also I continue to coach my clients. So I do the hypnosis, but I still use the coaching side, because that's really important too. We need both.
Yeah.
Is that answering your question? Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of yoga teachers well, first of all, I think yoga studios go through life a lot of not thinking about profit, and they think about, just paying themselves enough, right? Yeah. But there is that self-worth thing that comes in. And so what I think is interesting is what you work a lot with is the words that we tell ourselves, but also importantly, how we bash ourselves, right? And how, so you and I we were both creating some content a couple of months ago at the same time and going through some similar frustrations with it. And I told my story to you about how I just went through this bad day of trying to do stuff. But what I noticed, because I recorded everything, right? So I had it, I had a record of all the words I was calling myself. Oh, you're stupid. Why did you do that? Why do you're so dumb. And this was all day, and I had all these recordings of this. And then I went, we've talked about this, but not live, but going onto my spin bike, and I just cried. And then I just came to this place of kind of compassion of like, oh, give yourself some space here, just accept where you are. And but let's talk about those words that we say to ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
And how we rewire that.
Sure. So your mind does not care if what you say is garbage or wonderful, or it just gloms on to whatever it is that you're saying. So if you're saying, I'm so stupid, oh, I can't do this, guess what? Your mind is going, all right, I'm going to prove you right. And continue that, we talk about that neural pathway again, continue that belief that I am stupid, I can't do this. So that sounds like, well, that's pretty simple, right? Just change what you say. And that is definitely part of it. There is a bit of a fake it till you make it aspect to this for sure, which is, I believe so strongly in a daily self-love practice. I believe so strongly in looking, and my favorite lately has been looking in the mirror. And we all have a routine. We all have I hope so. I hope you're brushing your teeth. I hope we all have some kind of a routine. And whatever that might be. And as you look in the mirror, you're forced to look in the mirror. And that's a beautiful opportunity to say loving, positive words to yourself, and to really create that practice of just letting it sink in. I love thinking about it as I put on my lotion and letting it sink in like lotion, letting those beautiful, loving words. But here's the rub, here's the trick. So many clients that I work with, they don't even know where to start with that. I will look at them and say, well, you can say, I love myself, and I see this kind of a blankness come over them, and I just have to say, man, all right, we got to go back. We got to really go into some self-love work and really go into where those crappy words, that stupid, where it's coming from. And again, going back to root cause, really important. So when we can get, and that's what hypnosis does, and that's what I do. So going back to that time, that place, where did this begin? And often it's between the ages of 2 and 7, when we are like sponges and hearing something. And maybe there was a time, a place, a moment where you believed you were stupid. And often it's in that learning brain. Right? And you were saying all of this, you were doing something completely new that you'd never done before.
The
and
first.
Yet here you were saying, you're stupid. Rather than saying, would you ever do that when you were teaching, a child to walk or to read? Or can you imagine? Imagine the way, if we spoke to them, like you heard yourself speaking to yourself in your own tape. If we did that to a child, when they're just learning a new skill. And that's what this new world is about. We're learning all these new skills, right?
Yeah. I started smiling at myself in the mirror in the bathroom. And because I realized I was going through the process, washing, doing my like going through that process, not even looking at myself. And I don't know if it's different for a guy because I'm not having to put makeup on or things like that. Not today, anyway. And but just that smiling, it was kind of like, oh, hello, there you are, and just kind of like But that made a big difference, just to kind of like to my outlook to myself. Can you tell me how you're doing that in your own life for yourself?
Yeah, well, I do that morning. I do that practice. And now I find I do it whenever I look in the mirror. So that's a good starter. But I'm trying to let that seep into everything that I do. So say, especially when it's something new or a little scary like this. Like, right? Like anything where we're putting ourselves out there and really in a place where we could be judged. So anytime that I'm putting myself out there, and I'm doing it all the time, as I think everyone that's listening to this can relate in the same way. If you stand in front of a group of students, you're doing that as well, right? Putting yourself in a position to be judged.
Especially new teachers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no surprise why public speaking is, the thing that we're more afraid of that than death. Yeah. And it's because of our fear of judgment. So when you ask how I do that in my daily, anytime I'm putting myself out there in a way that I might be judged, I double up on self-love, man. Like you need a double dose. If you're about to do something that feels vulnerable, and you're putting yourself out there, I say double up on this. And
can you tell me actually how you do the self-love?
Yeah. So again, for me, it has been a journey of work. So I have gone back to the root cause of the garbage that I've said to myself. Right. So for me, it's very specific words, and that means so much to me. So if the thing the emotion that has got me the most stuck in my life has been fear and shame, it is the opposite of that. So I am full of joy and compassion, and I'm brave, and so there's words that just really, really ring true for me. And so for you, Michael, they might be something, totally different. A lot of them are very similar. I will say that most people, it is around peace and joy and compassion and love. Like these are the common ones. So for me, it's that. Another thing I do is I stick to really important routines each day. And as you know about me, I like flexibility in my routines. Yeah.
But tell me about your routines. I'd love to.
Yeah, sure. So there's certain things I do almost every day. So meditation has become, I started that. I know I'm probably talking.
Were you reluctant?
Oh, man. Like when I first did meditation was with you, it was on a 30-day challenge, right? And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I've skipped over it for so many years until now. I just can't. I can't anymore, right? It's like you can't ignore the research on meditation any longer. And especially with the way the mind works, and to calm the mind and have that space, that time to get present. So meditation's massive. So I'm doing that every day. I do something to expand my brain every morning. So with my coffee, I read a book. Usually I read a book. I like hardcover books. That's my favorite. And I make notes and I create kind of a little mini book study for myself. Very different than anything I ever did in school. So this is something I actually enjoy, and I create something like that. I exercise for sure. So, I mean, I have 2 dogs, so I have to walk the dogs. But aside from that, I work out. So I, do a lot of that, which incorporates yoga and stretching. And so those are my musts. I can't think of anything else.
You just you just did a meditation challenge.
I did a 30-day.
How was that for you? I saw a post you did about the itchies.
Like bugs crawling all over me constantly.
You got the right audience here, so tell us.
Oh my God. So I followed the Dr. Joe Dispenza from his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So I followed his meditation process. It is beautiful. I've tried a couple others since I finished it, and I keep going back to his. I like his voice too and all. It has a lot to do with that with me. But, oh man, I would just sit down and my mind went everywhere. And there was one time I actually felt bugs just crawling all over me. And I knew, my sister was one that told me that a meditation teacher had said to her, don't scratch the first itch. If you do that, you're going in. And I went in and I kept going. I kept scratching, but I stayed with it for at that time I was up to an hour and 10 minutes. So it was I'm not doing that now. I think 20 minutes is my sweet spot.
You found your moment.
Yes, 20 minutes. And who knows, at one time I may expand that, but 20 minutes is good for me now. But just the way I felt afterwards, I can't deny it. And I can't deny how I'm just so much calmer since I've started doing that practice. And then when things come up, as they do, especially now, but as things come up, I just am able to just immediately have that place that I know to go back to. That deep breathing. I use breathing. Breathing is, breathing.
It's always with us, right? Yeah.
You got it.
It's the best.
It's the best. And 4 square breathing is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
That's what I, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out.
Fantastic for anxiety too, that process.
It just calms me right down. And then when I'm really amped up, I just really extend that exhale.
Yeah.
And that, really.
I love hearing you talk about this now. Who are you?
I know. It took me a while. But I am, just triggering that whole parasympathetic nervous system and just really bringing my body into that rest and digest. But here's the thing. So every thought creates a physical reaction and an emotional response. Okay, so let that sink in for a sec. Every thought creates an emotional reaction or physical reaction and an emotional response. So my body, like when we met, and over the years has really been challenging.
Yeah.
A lot of chronic pain, a lot of illnesses,
surgeries, and
everything from surgeries to cancer to colitis to name it, right?
Yeah.
And I have never been happier with my body than I am right now. So when I talk about that loving kindness meditation really that I do and the self-talk, I make sure to thank this.
Right. We're not talking about the look of the body.
No.
Yeah.
No. Like just how I have felt, with pain and illnesses and that kind of thing. So I really go back again to spending that time on that thought work. And really, I'm kind of, I went ahead here on something, but really going back to what we're thinking and what those thoughts are and how they are creating this, response in our bodies. Emotionally, yes, but also just these physical responses. And I can only imagine what you and your colleagues see on a daily basis on those mats. People that are really struggling with all kinds of chronic pain. And I would always suggest going back to doing the work to go back to what thoughts are creating that emotional response that's creating that physical pain in their body. Yeah.
Now, I know you can't talk about your clients, but can you tell me about how profound this work has been on people that you've been seeing?
Wow. Well, if you check out the testimonials on my website, there's clients speaking their own stories.
Right. Yeah.
And it has been absolutely life-changing. So this is, I feel very strongly about coaching. I've done it for 18 years now, or whatever it's been, for a long time, but now incorporating this hypnosis into it and freeing people. I have clients that I'm kind of last resort. Like, they've been to therapists, they've done it all, tried it all, and still struggling. And this work has helped free them to go back and once and for all free them from that emotion that, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 times comes from a time in your childhood. 9 out of 10. So, really going back and healing that inner child. So the results have been astounding. So, I mean, there's immediate physical results. I have a client who came to me for weight loss, and I talked to her the other day. She's lost 50 pounds. 50 pounds over, a few months several months that we've been working together, I guess 6 now. So just astounding, like actual physical change. But then there's people that just simply say, I love myself. I can look in the mirror and I can say those words that once felt like I was faking it to make it. And now I'm looking in the mirror and I love myself, and how that's improved their marriages and their friendships and their relationship with their children. And it's been astounding. What's there to release.
And so what's the process? Like, how do people work with you? Can you tell me a little bit how the process goes?
Sure. So for me, the majority of my clients I work with for a month. So it's a 30-day process.
Yeah.
So how that works. Well, the first thing I would suggest 1,000% is to book a consult call with me. So 20-minute consult call, it's free. We chat, we see if this might be something for you. So that's always the first step. And then once it's a go, then we start the 30-day process. So we have a coaching call first. So this is really where what I do is, I think, unique, and where I'm able to get the results I get is that I really incorporate coaching and the RTT hypnotherapy. So we start with coaching, we really dive in. The intake form alone that my clients fill out is like therapy for them. Often many of them afterwards are just like, well, that alone, just because we ignore ourselves so much, don't we? We just don't take that time. We're especially women, I have to say, really have this culture of just giving it all away and really caring for everybody else around them, and very rarely taking time for themselves. So that's the first step. And then after that, we hone in on the area of change that the client is looking for. So the mind only will work with one issue, and that's where it gets a little tricky. People are like, which one? I've got like a list here. So we go to the one that is wreaking the most havoc in your life. The one that's causing the deepest, the one that's causing the most pain for you. And that's where we really focus. And then we do our RTT session, which is about a 2-hour session, and we dive in, and that's hypnosis. That's where we get in and we really bypass the conscious mind, get into the subconscious mind. And then the client gets a 21-day recording, or 30. I prefer them listen longer, but at least 21 days, where they listen to a recording that's bespoke. It's just for them, custom, just for them.
It's a rewiring the words.
Yep, you got it. Those old neural pathways that are not serving you, that are keeping you stuck and keeping you limited, we now create new neural pathways, and people love their recording. I get that. I just got a text this morning from one of my clients, and he's just like, oh my God, I love this. He listens to it twice a day because it just brings him so much joy, and he feels the rewiring. And then afterwards, in the course of the weeks after that, we then have two more coaching calls, and this is where we really continue to shed what needs to be shed. Maybe something happens in your life during that time period, and now it's, what tools do I need? So these are a little bit more tactical things, like more coaching tools that are used. And then usually our last session is really about, how you're going to be in this new world with these new beliefs. And sometimes it's still stuck in some areas. So then we move on to another set. So then a client might move on to another one, or just want more, maybe work on a different area. So that's usually the process. It's 30 days. So it's very simple. It's, if you go onto my website, which is coachki.com, and you go under work with me, it's got all that. It's got all that.
Well, I'm on your website right now, and one of the first things I read, and which I love, is live unapologetically.
Yeah.
What's that mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I resonate. That's been the word for me, to live.
Well, yeah.
You probably know that about me, and it is because I did apologize for just far too long in my life, and we contort ourselves to be palatable for others often. And so to live unapologetically is to really go back to your true self. It's to know that there is truly only one of you, and we want to see that one. We talk a lot about compare and despair, and how that can be a real problem in all of our, well, for everything, not even just in business, but let's face it, especially with social media, we're always comparing ourselves. Why? You are absolutely this one special, unique snowflake. You are your own snowflake. And to really live unapologetically, for me, means you are going back to home. You are going back to exactly who you're meant to be on this planet. And that's why in any of our careers, and whatever we do, whether you're a consultant or you own a studio or you're a yoga teacher or you're a coach like me or a hypnotherapist, the people that are your people will be drawn strongly to you. The more unapologetically you live, and the more you put your special sauce out there and don't water it down by trying to be someone else, like, the more you do that, the more they will come to you. One tip I want to give, which I just love, I do this for myself, and I can only imagine it would help your listeners as well, which is think about a student you might have, or someone that you have worked with that just keeps coming back to you. There's something about you. There's something, and they probably have told you what they love about you. Think about them when you are putting yourself out there. So if you're putting yourself out, think if it's Rhonda that came to you and said something to you about why you are the one that they keep going to, or why your yoga studio is where they keep going to, or why you're the coach that they want to hire. You think about Rhonda when you put yourself out there in social media. You think about, I mean, honestly, while I came kicking and screaming to you, I had been to other yoga teachers, and nobody made me go, oh, this is where I need to be. It was you. It could have been that cool accent. I mean, I do love it, especially in Shavasana. Oh, it could be that, or those bloody eyes of yours. But it was something, it was your spirit, Michael. It was who you were, and you do live unapologetically. I know that. When you are standing up there, you are not a copycat of anybody else. And so that's the encouragement for us all, to just keep doing that. And the people will come. If you build it, they will come.
That's such a great segue into where I wanted to go with this discussion, which is, so when I do a deep dive with a new client, let's talk about yoga teachers first, and then we'll go to yoga studios. So with yoga teachers, when we start off with purpose. And for me, when I work with them, that's like therapy. Like, they have to do such a deep dive into why they are doing this. But what comes up, there's so many insecurities come up through this process. And to me, it's not a fast step too. It's something you need before you launch your business. You need to do that process. Like, you need to figure out why you're doing it. But what comes up when people do that is the I can'ts, I don't know how to's. That's the kind of the first hurdle we kind of get over. And then it's the putting themselves out there, which you and I have had to do a lot of in the last couple of years and get over ourselves on that. And that thing that's uniquely yours that you're just speaking to, which is your story. Yeah. So many people are shy, especially with yoga teachers, yoga instructors, shy about their story, shy about, or even some kind of a shame around the story of not being enough. compared to other people. And I'll give an example of, I do a lot of discovery calls when I talk with potential clients. And so I get to meet people from all over the world, all different. And there was one about a month ago, and she was just talking about, she's, you know, got grown kids now. They've all got their own lives. She's figuring out her own thing now, being a yoga teacher. But she kept putting herself down about, well, I was just a mum. I was just this. Well, this is not important. I did this. But then when we got diving into it a little bit more, she was actually a super mom. You know, she was chair of the Little League. She was, you know, and she just did it all. She was incredible. And now, you know, she's able to put those strengths into building up a yoga career. But it's those words, those I'm not enough. I mean, I hear that one a lot. I'm not enough, and it's that comparison. So any sort of, you have talked about this a little bit, but any sort of thoughts around how people can get over, because the story is what makes people relate. I think so, and that's a vulnerable place to be, to share your story. And, you know, just one more before I get back to you on this one. You know, another one is a student who has had a trauma in her life. So she's a client of mine, but, you know, had some kind of trauma, had to sort of rebuild herself. And then, and now she's working people in a therapeutic way. And so I'm like, you need to tell your story. Basically, her story was she couldn't walk from vertigo and had to reteach herself to walk backwards first. Wow. Right? And now she's doing headstands. So we're rebuilding her website now. Basically, it's from, you know, from pain to headstand is where she's gone. And that's her story. And now when I've shown other people her website, which she's launching soon, they're like, oh my God, her story. Like, they connect to it. And so that's the one thing I try to get them. If you can be that vulnerable, you will find your ideal audience that are like-minded, that are, you have the thing that they are looking for, right? You know, any thoughts along that, around absolutely. Being vulnerable enough?
I have a million thoughts.
Yeah.
So first, you talked about the first thing you do with your clients is you talk about the purpose, the why. We all know that, right? Simon Sinek, like, we got to get to our why. Yeah. Really important. And the why, when we really dig deep into our story, we will find the why. So if you have, because you had said some of them just get stuck, you know, they don't know, and they're just, I don't know. It's that whole, I just don't know. You just don't know what you don't know, as they say. So you've got to just go back. If you can go back into your story, I like doing, I call it the 7-year journey. So I like going back, and I take clients through this from the ages of 0 to 7, 7 to 14, you know, 14 to 22. 21. Got to do my math here. And you do a 7-year journey, and I want you to write down significant events in your life. Just jot them down. This is just for, you know, your eyes only. And if you can go back and just do and jot down in those 7 years chunks, pretty soon you look at this, and you know, however you do it, I scrawl all over paper, and I like doing surfing, you know, I'm messy.
Hands on.
I got to be messy with my story. And when you go back, just like you did beautifully with your client, to go back to when, you know, just a mom was, you know, no one's just a mom, by the way. Yeah. And when you go back and you really see your story and you see the events in your life. So the first thing is, when you go back and you see what propelled you, what meant the most to you, also where your biggest pain and hurt and sense of loss and grief, all the big emotions that come up for you, they're all leading you to your why. They're all, it's no surprise who I work with and why this kind of work. I have just been on a journey of purpose and finding myself, and since I can remember. And this has been, there's no surprise that this is what I love doing. There's no surprise. But what's yours? What is that story? Legit, write it down.
The
look
unique.
through it, tie it together, and then you start to see the string as it ties together, and you really begin to see what it is, what stamp, what mark do you want to make on this, in this one precious life.
Yeah.
You know, what is that mark that you want to make? And it will always bring you back, and it all goes back to your story. You're bang on with that. And so many of us say, okay, I have this story, but I'm ashamed of it and I don't want to share it. You know, that's a big one. Many people hold shame with their story.
Yeah.
So that shame is not serving you. It is not okay to say, well, I'm just going to live with this shame. I know those are strong words that I'm saying, but 1,000%, if my stamp is that I can help release every single human that I come in contact with from shame, my job is done. That is it. So you go back and you look at that source of shame, and you might not even know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not even know what it is.
You were super resistant to going out there on social media for the longest time, right? Now, like, you're going on your walks, no makeup on, you got your hat on, you're working out. What was the flip for you?
I got rid of shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly the flip.
Yeah.
I held shame. I held shame from a trauma when I was 6 years old. I held shame, and that created a string of events throughout my life that I attached shame to. Shame.
And was it thinking about what people would think about you?
Yeah. Judgment, for sure.
Yeah.
So it is, if they find out how shameful I am, why would they ever want to work with me, listen to me?
Yeah.
Any of that. What do I even have to say? It was so much garbage, such a that dialogue, that inner dialogue was just disgusting. And just like you heard it on your recording, that's just amazing that you actually heard it out loud. But what we say and the kind of garbage, and here I've been doing this work for so long, and just, thinking, come on. But there was something stuck in me, and I didn't know what it was. And I
now
didn't understand. And I had people like you going, get out there.
I was a bit of a nag.
You were such a nag. You were just like, how are you not posting? What do you mean you don't know what Instagram is? And all the things. And now I also believe that I have now since moved from my past life, my past career, which was I owned a retail business for 20 years, and which I loved dearly, but that is now my past career. And I think what I'm with now, I feel, is more in touch with that true self I was talking about, going back to home, going back to what I'm really here to do and how I'm here to serve. So now I'm also able to put myself out there more genuinely and more authentically.
Yeah.
If that makes
it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yoga studios, it's a mess right now in my world. It's, it's different all over the world. I know here in BC, Canada, things are shut down again. Ontario, some of my clients are in Ontario. They're on shutdown and lockdown. And so I have so much respect and admiration for these resilient, brave souls that have got leases, that have got students, have lost students, and the finances hanging over them. But really, it's the emotional roller coaster that where it's like 1 minute we're open, 1 minute we're closed. Let's pivot to online. It's like they're bouncing back and forth constantly. Any thoughts on, any tips on how they can mentally survive this time? I mean, it's not unique to them. I mean, we're all going through it somehow. But I do, the business owners that, do have those financial burdens, and, will it be back to normal? And, where they had 30 people in classes can now have 8 in a class. And, it's just a different time. Any quick thoughts there of how they can kind of survive this time?
Well, the first thing is there's never been a time where being compassionate with yourself is more important than that. So you start from that loving place of just saying like, I am here. I am here. I am breathing. Really starting from that place. And if we've learned anything over this past year, you know, it's tricky to plan because then they get changed. You plan something and then it gets whipped out from underneath you. You're told you can open your business back up and then they tell you have to close it back down again. So for now, it is about really making those small, important moves. One, I'm just reading a book right now. I'm almost finished Martha Beck's book called The Way of Integrity. It's a beautiful book. And she talks about making 1 degree shifts, 1 degree turns, and just making that, what is that 1 degree turn you can make towards what you want? And I talk a lot about shifting forward, forward shifts. So what is that 1 degree? And if you think about a plane, she uses that as the analogy, which I absolutely adore. If a plane did a 1 degree shift every half hour, even though nobody on the plane would ever feel it, notice it, you'd end up in a very different place than where you were headed.
Right.
So
I love that.
The one thing I would suggest is to really make that 1 degree turn each day. What's just 1 degree turn you make? What's one thing that really feels like it's in forward movement of what I want at the end? And in alignment, God, I love that word, in alignment with my purpose. So I ask myself that all the time. Am I on purpose? Am I on purpose? Am I on purpose? And your body, you guys, you yogis, you know it. Your body's going to tell you in 5 seconds. It's going to, no!
We are in tune.
Yes, you're doing your headstand and you fall over. Like that is when you know. So really check in. Your body, your body tells you so much. You know that already, how important that is. So really checking in with your body. We talk about the conscious and subconscious. So 95% of our thoughts come from our subconscious. Our subconscious is our body. It sits in our body. So anything that's holding us back is just going to show up for us. So tuning in now with the time we have, because we have been given this weird world that we live in where we have a lot more time alone. So I'm trying to really make use of those moments of tuning in, really getting a sense of who I'm here to serve. The other thing that I really want to stress is that remaining present. Your mind only understands the present moment. So when you start saying to your mind, freaking out about the future, anxiety, freaking out about the past creates depression. That's usually how we look at that.
Yep.
So when we're saying we're going to get shut down again, this is never going to end. I'm going to lose my lease space. When we start saying these statements, our mind works to make that happen. It thinks it's happening right now. So when you think I'm going to lose my lease space, I'm not going to be able to afford rent, your mind is like, okay, so that's what's happening. Hey. So you want to really ensure that future self of yours, that place you desire, we all want to get to that place. Live it today. Live how today do I live with a full practice? How today do I live with all the clients I want? I had a funny thing that I did that I've never really told anyone about this when I thought about it when I was thinking of talking to you was, so I have had some money blocks in my life, all of course coming from how I was raised. And so these money blocks really can take a toll on you when you're in business, right? So my story was I would see my dad when it was time to pay the bills turn into like a monster. So once a month or however many times he would do it, he'd sit there with his checkbook. Like there was the cloud overhead. You never went near him. He was mad. He was snappy. You just knew this was bill paying day. And it was just, that was how I grew up. And I just thought, oh, that's how you feel when you're paying bills. That's how you feel. So, and he would always say there's never enough. He would literally say the word, like, there's just not enough. There's not enough. But we never were living out of a car in an alley. Yeah. So when you think about the reality of your situation, look around and be like, okay, I'm not living in my car in an alley. That's not where I'm at. I have enough. But then what I would do is I'd go to pay bills and I would put a 0 on the end of my bank balance. So whatever was in the bank, I'd put a 0 on the end. And I did this before I even
Really?
did this money stuff, or this mind stuff, which was quite funny. And I would see it and I would put a 0 on the end. And it just made the process more enjoyable. Felt like there was abundance. I felt like there was always enough because I knew there was going to be
I
enough.
love that.
Yeah. So stick
I used to love writing checks. I don't know. Maybe that's the...
Did your mom love
It felt so it felt so grown up. I don't know what it was, but I used to love writing at the end of the month, writing the checks. So it's complete opposite, right? Maybe I just didn't care about money enough, and but I do think actually, you know, I think there's another conversation here about the money blocks at a future. I think that could be a whole episode. Yeah. I do want to start wrapping things up here. I want to. A few things. I want to do the geeky side of things because, you know, I'm a tech nerd. And so I am super curious about what tools that you use in your business. So what is a favorite app or piece of software that you can't live without for running the business?
Yeah, 17 hats for sure, which is a CSM, a customer systems management. That is 1,000% has changed everything for me. Just keeping things in order, keeping billing in order, sending out forms, intake forms, all that stuff. So 17 hats, which terrified me at first, is because you know me and I am not a techie geek.
I tried it and I couldn't
share that passion. You tried it and what happened?
Well, I tried. I got stumped by all the setup stages. I was just like, I don't have time for this. And then I started.
I
started thinking, well, can I hire someone to do it? And perfect.
Yes, you can, and I'll give you her name, and it's great. so getting that was probably the thing that really got me systemized in this business. Yeah.
And what's your favorite? What's your favorite fun app or piece of software or website, or what's your escapism? What's your fun?
Well, just quickie apps, ones that I love would be like, it's an app called Vivino, so you won't be surprised. So if there's a wine that I like or something that it's awesome. It's like you take a picture of it on this app and then it tells you like all the information.
That's so not interesting to me, but...
It's the best. And I use Shazam a lot. So if I hear music that I love, I Shazam it and put that on my playlist. So
it's a good one.
Use like quickie ones, and then my other one is just I play crib incessantly.
So, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, I have no one in my house that will play with me. It's actually a bit of a sore point. I've told my husband for 30 years that if he wants to give me any gift that is like would be so meaningful, it would be to learn to play crib, and he won't do it. So
he knows his purpose.
He's just like, no, sorry. He does. That does not bring me joy. I'm not doing it, even for you. I'd
love you to tell people where they can find you.
Sure. So the best is to go to my website because it really does give you all the information about me and you. I talk about me, I talk about you, I talk about the work. And so that's at coachki.com. But you can also find me on Instagram, which is Coach Christine Irving on Instagram and Facebook.
I love it. And she's out there full time now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you so much, Christine. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, and thank Christine. I'm going to have you back for sure. And if anybody wants any information on my programs, you can find me at michaeljonline.com, and then also my new peer-to-peer business community where you can join the next generation of yoga business champs, and that is at yogabizcamp.com. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. Love you.
You too.